Hi, it's Tom here from FDS, and while I had this open on the bench, this is the Cassian Andor Deluxe blaster, which is a Target exclusive in the USA. I've got this on the bench for modding, because who wants a stock one? And I'm just going to give you an idea of what I'm planning to do before I get stuck into actually doing it, and also to give you an overview of the wiring loom. Because obviously there is a sound chip in this particular blaster, and there's also a lighting rig, and it does have a glow charging. So what we've got is I've taken out the motor block and associated wiring. I'm not keeping any of this, obviously, because I'm going to put rhinos in it. And then I've removed the cage which contains the glow dart lights. Those normally wire onto the terminals here on the motor block that are marked R1, R2 and R1, R2 negative. So you can just trim those off, and then you can, that way you can wire those either to work with the rev trigger, or I'm going to put them onto the jam door switch because then I can turn them on and off. I'm also going to separate the sound wiring from the propulsion wiring so that I can keep the sound function. I'm going to use an intelligent power supply which will allow me to run either a 3S LiPo with my rhinos for top shooting, or I can derp it down a little bit with a 2S for some indoor games we have which have a 100 FPS cap. So that will enable me to keep the sound chip alive and not explode it by putting too much voltage through it. The thing that normally pops are the capacitors. As you can see, there's a couple here on the back. This is a very cheap chip, you don't really want to burn it to pieces. This also controls the lighting in the barrel, and I really don't want to remove the cool shooting lights from down here that simulate your laser blasts, because I think that's rad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to completely separate this, and I will start over here with the wiring. Obviously the battery tray here. There's the main power wires from the battery tray. You can see those are red and black. Red is positive, black is negative in the usual Nerf scheme of things. And we can actually cut that. If you're using a LiPo, take that. Just take the tray out. You don't need to use the tray. And you've got a nice fat space in here. If you want to make more space, you can, but I'm not going to. I'm going to keep the tray, and I'm going to put a plug on it, and that will allow me, if I want to use the tray again, so that my son can use it at home without a LiPo in, because he likes using it for LARP and other things, and charging around, pretending to be Han Solo. So I don't want to lose that play functionality. Then we've got those two power wires over here. We have the thermal fuse or thermosistor, and you can see there's a PTC board very similar to the usual ones. I am going to leave that alone because that's going to give me an additional layer of protection for my sound card. Now what we have here is we have the dark blue wire which comes off of that PTC and passes under the soundboard. This is your main positive feed to the rev switch that you're going to reuse later. Those are the power wires going from the sound chip to the boards, and those are there for the switches and things. So what we'll do is we'll go to here, we'll follow all this wire run back. You can see there is not much room in here, which is one of the reasons why I'm going to be smart, and I'm going to use a MOSFET for my power switching for my flywheel motors, so that I can make best use of what's there, and I can just put the MOSFET, pop it probably in this aperture here, or it might go in here against this sidewall, and I've got a little power shield, I've got the power supply to go in there. So we go back to here, this is the jam door. Again, none of that you're going to want eventually. I'll use the switch, but this is the power feed going in, and then there are the outs and the closed loop for the motor, and closed loop for the motors is on that one, and obviously that goes back down, so I'm not going to worry about that. I've taken the lock out of here already, and there's the switch for it, and then you can see that you've got the big wire here, got this triple cable coming from that jam switch through this, which is basically just a joining block. It's just a distribution block. You can see that power comes in here and then is distributed through these various wires. So you've got those going to the locks, and all that means is that obviously you have to have all the locks in the closed position for the rev trigger to work. The sound switch is independent of those and are just as up here. So the sound switch is up here. I'm going to leave that alone, and what I want to do is I want to take these two wires from the sound switch, and there they are there, so you can see those. And we're just going to bypass the joining block with those in a minute, and I'm going to leave that alone because I want the sounds function to be independent, so I'm going to use that, and then I'm going to remove this one. I'm going to leave the rev trigger, and I'm only going to use 2 of the 3 wires from the rev trigger, and I'm going to run those rev trigger wires back through to my MOSFET. So, and I'm going to need a power feed here from my MOSFET as well, because MOSFET needs a voltage across the pins in order to activate. So I'm going to reuse some of these wires, and I'm going to keep this sound unit, and that means that you can, if you're going to do the same, keep these red and brown ones, sorry, brown and grey, So brown and grey is clearly the, there you go, that's under, oh, that does just go underneath. Okay, so there you go, if you lift that out of the way, you can actually keep that. I have to join those again. There you go, live and learn, something new every day. So I can join up those, and they'll be the brown and the grey wire, and that will then mean that my sound chip function will be unaffected. So my laser lights and laser noise coming from my main trigger will be there, and I'm obviously going to remove the LED function from the rev. Right, we're going to start with how to set up the trigger cluster and what you need to do to run all the wiring forwards and what you need to separate out. So we've got the standard wiring here, which goes into the, it's quite a lot in here, so I've just got to pick the layers off. You can see I'm taking the block out. This is the soundboard, and you really don't want to mess with this. And attached to the soundboard is just under here, is a little PTC. Again, I would advise leaving that in. This means if you make a mistake, hopefully the PTC will activate to a degree. I know some people have blown these by sticking IMRs and things in them like noobs. But hopefully the PTC will activate and will protect your soundboard from damage. So I left my PTC in, and then this wiring is the harness wiring that goes to the LEDs that make that zooming effect down the barrel. Again, you want to leave all of that alone. Speaker wiring is blue. Speaker I've left alone for the time being. I'm looking at getting a bigger speaker into this space, but I haven't found one that I like yet quite enough. I'm going to put a bass reflex in here. If you're looking to put a bass reflex speaker in, you need a full enclosure at the back. A sugar cube would also work, but this is a 16 ohm speaker. If you go too low on the speaker, so if you go lower than 8, you could put a pair of 8s in there, a pair of 8 sugar cubes. If you go too low, what happens is that obviously the amplifier is then able to draw too much current and it pops itself. So just be careful with that. You don't want to put too low a load on the, they're designed to work on a 16 ohm speaker, this particular soundboard. You can obviously, if you're really clever, you can go put a custom soundboard in there. You can blow your own sounds so that it makes funny noises when you fire it. You can make it moan, groan, make chicken noises, whatever you like. A soundboard is a soundboard. So there's some things to think about in the future.